Yay, we're live.
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome back to another episode of Unprinted Pages, where we talk to authors about their careers, their journeys, the different things that they have learned along the way. And today is a very special episode. Today is Patricia Harris's birthday, and we want to wish her a very happy birthday. But for that occasion, my kids have something to say because they're big fans of hers too.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Patty. Happy birthday to you. Also, you are a fish.
And
Hi, I love you. Boop.
I love your kids. They're awesome.
I love them too, and they love you. And hi, Pyle. And he says, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, man.
So,
This is
Yay.
awesome, honestly.
I'm so happy to have you on the show. And this special, I have two of my most favorite people on the show that help me with my writing every day. So we have Raz and Patti, and I think I'm becoming a better writer every single day because they're here to help me and guide me and be part of my life and my friends.
I would argue that you're becoming a better writer every day because you are constantly working at it. And that we get to go along for the ride.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, but I get to learn things from you guys.
Well, yeah. But that's part of the fun. We get to learn from you too.
Definitely.
Because there's always going to be things that we teach each other.
That's true.
Cool.
It's very true.
I didn't know I was teaching you guys. I would show your comment pile, but it came up with nothing on it. So,
Here we go. Just file.
Oh. There it is. 100%.
I was
Yay!
going to say to check out our Twitch, but I don't think we're actually streaming on Twitch today. We are not.
Well, you said not to.
Yeah, no, I
So-
wasn't sure when we were going to start doing that, but that totally works for me.
Since you said not to, I took it off.
Yeah.
So,
That's fine. We're trying to build up our Twitch people, so go, and follow our Twitch. Follow it.
So-
We know where you live.
Well, that's a good way to get followers. Threaten them.
That's right. That's how we do
sometimes it helps, sometimes it hurts. But I think my biggest question today is, how was your birthday so far?
It's been amazing. I got to talk to my dad for like 6 hours. My daughter took me out to the local Chinese buffet, and I absolutely came home with the oh my bellies.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's been good.
And he says, woohoo! And then Pyle says, sometimes that's the way of the game.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that is Raz who says woohoo. But anyway, I am so happy you're having a great day. And you are like the poetry queen. You have like, I don't know, 9 volumes coming
Yeah.
out and probably 6 more that I don't know about this year or something. It feels
Um,
like it.
It's impressive.
I think Tears of the Broken is coming out on the 29th, and then Queer Verbiage is going to come out in April. And that's the only ones I have scheduled so far this year for me. I'm hoping to get, I've got like 4 or 5 in progress. I'm hoping to get some of them done. They're about half done, so it's possible. But honestly, I normally do about 3 a year on a good year. Last year I had like 9.
Yeah.
Last year was, I don't know what the heck was going on, but I felt like everything was coming out of my brain last year. So
I know that
yeah.
feeling.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm not sure I count as poetry queen though, because there are some definitely better writers than me, but I definitely am not
Okay.
bad at it.
You're the poetry queen of the Fae Corps and Owl Light Network. Let's try that then. Will that work?
Yeah,
That is true.
that works. That's a little more specific.
Because I have been writing poetry too, just nowhere near as much. And how do you know why it's like easier for you to write poetry than stories?
Because I've been doing it longer.
You've been doing it longer?
When I was like 8 or 9, I started writing poetry as a way to deal with trauma. And I did stories too, but the stories did not look right to me. So I'd get mad and I'd throw them away. I threw away whole novels. I'm not kidding. I threw away whole novels because they looked bad, in my opinion. And they probably weren't. But to young me, they were. But I had notebook after notebook of poetry. I literally have lost more poems than I will ever be able to publish. At one point, I moved in with this one girl right out of high school, and she stole my son's baby book and a notebook I had of over 200 poems.
Wow.
That because she was just that kind of person. But the poems were always an outlet for me. They were something that I was able to use to let the stress out of my brain that I couldn't let out any other way.
Right. I can definitely understand that.
And the stories, that perfectionist streak kicks in. My brain goes, it has to be perfect.
Right.
And it's not good enough. And because it's not good enough, then I start doubting myself and I start questioning whether it's going to be worth putting out and
Yeah.
It's the imposter syndrome thing, I think.
Oh, I 100,000,000% get that, man. I was actually thinking about doing a poetry book, but like kind of like a lyrical poetry book though, because when I toured with the band, I wrote a lot of music, a lot of different songs. A lot of them never even, we never really used them for anything. So I had this cool idea to kind of like click like a, a lyrical poetry book, but make the front of it look like an old school like shitty notebook cover
Yeah,
with this weird
that
shit
would be
drawn all over
awesome.
it.
Yeah. Honestly, and a lot of people don't understand this, I've written one song entirely, one. And I wrote music and everything to go with it. And I was so proud of it. I was like, I finally wrote a song. And Mom's like, my mom, she says, but you write poetry all the time, so you just wrote music for it, right? No, Mom. This is a totally different type of poetry. It's not.
Yeah.
Songs take a different talent set.
Yeah, it's a different mindset, you know. It's different everything. Like the rhyming schemes, there's so many different ones to choose from. It's not traditional. Some are more like more similar to free verse poetry than they are, you know, lyrical. So it's insane how all the different forms of poetry and how songwriting works too. But I mean, songwriting is technically lyrical poetry. It's just there's a lot of things you have to do to make that work, including having a tune in your head when you write it, which may not always be the tune it ends up to once it's done.
Right. I actually am mostly a free verse poet because the rules on poetry annoy me. They do.
Yep.
But one of my volumes, I decided I wanted to do nothing but forms because I wanted that challenge, because if you don't challenge yourself as a writer, you never improve.
Yep.
I'm trying to write a volume for every letter of the alphabet. I think it's funny.
That's awesome.
So I called it Exactly Poet.
I love it.
And the reason was I was trying to do my X, and I could not find anything that made sense for an X at that point. That volume was harder to write than any of my others. And I've had other people tell me that each of my volumes seem to have a theme to them.
Yeah.
I don't generally start out with a theme. I've got a couple that I have, like queer verbiage is nothing but queer poetry.
Right.
And I've got one currently that I'm working on it's called Dream Drops. It's all about addiction. That one's kind of a hard one to write. Because we've all been there at one point or another with something.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Then I've got one called Fighting Ignorance that I'm working on. That one's purely poetry about political topics. That one's hard to write because that one's all angry poetry.
Right.
And I don't do angry very well. I'm not an angry person by nature. But when people tell me that my volumes end up with a theme, a lot of times it's unintentional. I don't sit down and say, well, this is going to be my theme. This is my volume. Let's fill it up.
Uh-huh.
And the way that works is by the time I get halfway through, all the poems tend to have a very similar feel. Because when I'm writing them, my brain is working with the same set of thoughts.
Right.
For example, let me get it to pull up, and I can. The current volume that is not a themed volume for me is Hope Splashes. And a lot of what Hope Splashes is finding the hope in the common thing. Finding what is in the common day to hope for. Let's see if I can find the one I'm thinking of. Love poems to myself. I can't seem to find that ability in my own mind to write love poems to myself. Though I feel like I should, telling me the wonder that I know grows within and how it is something that the world should see. But it requires a different view of myself than I am yet able to see. I must be able to ignore all that I see as flaws and with flourishing grace. I must be able to write my glory as though I think it is all written upon my face.
That is beautiful.
It is about finding what other people are already seeing. The little splashes of hope. And sometimes that is in word form. Sometimes it is in taking a nap. I think there was a poem in here about napping. So it's not intentional, those themes that everybody sees in my volumes. But sometimes it happens. And like I said, I've been doing it since I was 9 years old. It was some random therapist, because I've been in therapy since I was 9 years old. Some random therapist suggested that writing would be a good idea for a way to get rid of the trauma and cope with everything. I'm pretty sure the poems I wrote back then were not as good as the ones I write now.
But everybody's got to start somewhere.
Exactly.
I actually pulled up something in honor of today because you've only ever actually seen one of my poems, and I sent it to you forever ago, and it was a somewhat more traditional poem, I think, for one of the anthologies.
Into the Glen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I pulled up one today I wanted to read to you. This was one I wrote that no one has seen before. It's when after I talked to Michelle's kids and got their permission to propose, and I started thinking about my life and what it's going to be like, and I was going to be a parent now, and that was very different. It was this new and crazy adventure, and I had to kind of think about where I was before and where, what the future might be, with kids. And I wrote this one. It's called Silent Discord. Breathe so silently as not to wake the gods. Dream so patiently. Try and stack the odds. Please, oh please don't wake the gods. I never feared mortality till I left the peace behind. Never questioned my morality till you came into my life. Oh, so many hopes and fears that I had left to fate. Oh, so many hard decisions I have never made. Before I used to risk it all, no consequence enforced. Live fast, die young, leave a handsome corpse. I used to hear the rebel yell, place the highest bet. Now I see where I was blind, no time for this regret. This constant evolution is not a fall from grace. Without new resolutions, my soul could be at stake. I need to make some changes. It's time to make a stand. Without this revolution, I couldn't hold your hand. Keep breathing, silently. Please don't wake the gods. Now I'm destroying aging visions of my self-imposed exile, still not looking for redemption on this midnight mile. Society implies normality. Am I the odd man out? No bitter end this time, I see. No binding chains of doubt. And there you go.
That is gorgeous.
I loved it. Thank
you for sharing that.
I can feel it, and I totally understand.
I secretly have a very large collection, of poetry and songs that and no one even knows I do. I do it a lot. I just never really, I don't know. I just don't do anything with them.
You ought to.
Had them.
I may.
And now that I know you have them, I'm going to be bugging you because I want them.
Yes, I want them too.
I want them.
Okay, I wrote you one. Happy
Yes.
birthday. A lovely woman, a wonderful poet, an imaginative storyteller, a wonderful friend. She gives a home for the misfit writer. The half-mad poet sparks creativity in each volume. We thank her for the home she gave us. May she have a happy birthday and a blessed life.
That is so beautiful. I love that.
We love you.
Yes, we do.
And I think one of my other biggest questions, because a lot of these are just random fan questions. Well, you know what? I have two that I need to ask you before I forget again, because my internet just decided to dip and tell me no, and I'm like, we'll try that again. The first one is, when you dream, what animal do you dream you are? Dante wants to know.
When I dream, an owl, actually, most often.
Very nice. I'm definitely not mad at that.
Yeah, although
Yeah.
I had to actually think on that one because usually when I dream, I'm in flight. If I dream I'm an animal, I'm in flight. So I had to roll it in my mind to where in flight I was and how I was in flight.
That is
So,
beautiful. And his other question, today we saw all types of big rigs. Loggers, sand trucks, box trucks, ones that carried chips and grain and whatever. He loves trucks. What is your favorite type of truck?
that's an easy one. I spent 2 separate years in a big truck with my family. Once when I was pregnant with my daughter, and once when she was like 16. Me, her, and her father were in a big truck for a while. And riding in the truck was an amazing experience. Okay, it really was.
Yes, it is. Most definitely. I loved it.
Now, of the trucks, we had a Freightliner. Freightliners are fun. But if I had my druthers, I want a Western Star. Those are so pretty.
Oh yeah. Those.
Because they're like Cadillacs. They're huge inside and they're so pretty.
They are. They're gorgeous. And I think one of the ones I got to see most that wasn't as expensive was the difference between like Peterbilts and Max.
I do not like the Peterbilts or the Max because both are boxy, and I don't feel like they're comfortable to ride in because I spent so much time in the Freightliners. A fun thing, when I was over the road, each of the trucks have a different name that the truckers call them. The Kenworths are called K-Whoppers. The Freightliners are Freight Shakers. I don't remember what the Max were called, but now I've forgotten what the Peterbilts were called too. I'd have to ask Joe, and he's asleep. But we always had a Freight Shaker, so because he worked for a while for CR England. We had a truck that stayed in the shop more often than it was on the road. It had flames on the side. It was a red truck that had flames on the side.
Nice.
Yes.
And gorgeous.
It was a gorgeous truck, but it was a piece of utter crap. Because, like I said, it stayed in the shop more often than not. Then the last time we were out, he worked for Riverside.
Mhm.
And they were actually better to him than C.R. England. C.R. England, that whole year that I was over the road with him, we lived off of $100 a month.
Mhm.
That was it. That's what we had. The advance he got, because everything else went right into that truck.
Yep.
Because he had signed up to buy the truck. And it was a lemon. So, but I do have some interesting stories about being over the road in that truck. That was fun. We you don't see much other than road when you're in the big truck.
Very true.
And there's not a whole lot of places that you can pull in and go to the bathroom. And there's not a whole lot of places that you can get a shower. So those are things that you have to work around. But we figured out I was about 4 months along after I had been with him for 4 months. So I got pregnant very quick in the truck.
Yeah.
And C.R. England apparently decided they could not route him back here until I was 7.5 months by the time I climbed out of that truck the last time.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So I was very pregnant in that truck. And a very pregnant woman, every time that truck stopped, I had about 3 minutes to get to the bathroom.
Yeah. Totally know that feeling.
We stopped at one customer, and the customer had a bathroom that we could use. I went in, and he had to go to the bathroom too. So he went in and grabbed the one stall, and I went in, and the other stall had the toilet was filled. It was just nasty. It was filled.
Oh, no.
Thankfully, there was a urinal. Did you know that a pregnant woman can use a urinal? I didn't up till that day.
You just have to believe in yourself. That's all.
Oh, yeah. I have no spice tolerance. That comes in handy for the next story. We little place in Laredo, there was a burrito stand. Guy was selling burritos out of the trunk of his car.
Yeah.
Well,
And yeah, I'm sure they were healthy.
they sound
I think.
healthy.
But Joe decided to, mind you, I was probably about 6 months pregnant at the time, and I couldn't hold anything down but Juicy Juice the whole time I was pregnant with her. Nothing.
I know that feeling. Same problem with Cassie.
Nothing. And mind you, she was 11 pounds, 7 ounces at birth. So I lost 40 pounds with her because everything was coming up. And when I went to the doctor for the first time and I told him how much I'd lost, he goes, "Oh, you're fine. You were fat to begin with." So
Stab, stab, stab.
yeah. But Joe decided to get me a burrito from this guy's trunk, and I have no spice tolerance. So he thought the grain sauce would be mild, right?
No.
Yeah.
Not.
So I took one bite, and I made him pull off at the first place he could fit that truck into, which was a border Exxon. Okay, literally, you could spit across the border. That's how close we were.
Wow.
And I waddled my little ass into the Exxon and grabbed a half gallon of chocolate milk. And I didn't look at it because why would I? I just grabbed it, paid for it, and went back to the truck because we were in a hurry.
Right.
I got it to this point before I saw the date on it and realized it was chunky. It was 2 weeks out of date.
Oh no.
I just thought
There went There went everything I had eaten for the last month.
I know that feeling. I actually really do know that feeling. With Sophia, they had got me my favorite chocolate milk. Unfortunately, it's like one of the more expensive ones, but it's really smooth and nice. And it was this thing. It was like a couple weeks out of date, and I drank it, and it went right back up into her trash can beside the desk.
Oh.
I did not make it that far. So yeah,
I was aiming right out the window because that was as far as I was getting. So
you tell my dad
to this day, I still check milk. I still check the date on milk before I buy it because of
Yeah. I've definitely had my not while pregnant, clearly, but I've definitely had my my milk scares, and I'm a connoisseur of both milk and chocolate milk.
Well, and I keep asking Joe, why in the hell would you get me the green sauce? He said, I thought it would be mild.
That is epic.
Okay, since we are playing ads, and this is a very special episode with Patty, we are going to play the first. You guys are going to see yeah, it's about 31, and we usually do about an hour to hour and a half a show.
Yeah, hit those. We're gonna play them both back to back.
Yep, but first we're going to play the Fae Corps because it's Patty's birthday, and she is Fae Corps.
Yes.
Greetings and shabibans. We are the Retro Reductibus Cephala Podcast, a long-form bi-weekly show that celebrates all the things that made growing up awesome.
Well, that sounds good, but I don't know what all those words mean.
I think what Parasite Steve's trying to say is that on Retro Reductibus, we explore a range of retro goodness, from toys, video games, and movies, to cartoons, and even snacks and school lunches.
Oh. And we do it all with a positive spin, a slew of killer guests, and some very adult language.
And you know what else is cool?
No.
This crazy show is part of the Your King Podcast Network with new episodes every Tentacle Tuesday.
What's that?
And if waiting 2 weeks for a new episode gives you a sad, know that we drop bonus episodes all the time, like the off-format Crow's Nest and an interview series we call The Brig.
You can listen to Retro Reductibus on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any app that's cool enough to carry the only show that celebrates all the things that make growing up awesome.
It's so pretty, and the other one's so
that
fun.
Is gorgeous. Yeah.
We'll be adding a third one to that play soon. It really helps us though, because like, especially for the longer shows, to actually have bathroom breaks. So we figured, how can we give ourselves a little break for longer shows and promote people we like? So that's kind of our new format right now.
That is awesome. And I love the Fae Corps one, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
It's awesome, and we're in it. So, out of all the characters you've written, which one is your favorite one to actually take and have like a coffee date with, or to have a meal with? Which one would be the most fun?
This is going to sound really odd, but of all the characters that I've written, my favorite's actually one of Serena's characters. And there's a reason behind it. The zombie book that was written by Serena, Rustborn, the Junkyard Zombie, was actually when Joe and I are alone and don't have anybody else hanging on, or we don't have any other obligations, we play a D&D style game, and we world hop, okay? And sometimes it's a world that's already established, sometimes it's a world I create, but we world hop. That was one of our worlds. That was one of our games.
Oh yeah.
That is awesome.
And my favorite character out of all of them has a whole lot more information than was put into that book. There's a whole lot of character backstory that did not end up in that book. I know where she ended up. She's actually in one of my D&D pantheons, and I love her. She's one of my favorites. And that would be Lizzie, the little science chick, the sister. And she actually ended up as the goddess of things lost to time in my D&D games.
That is a great concept.
And she is absolutely one of my favorite characters. And like I said, I've got more information on her than ended up in the book, but the book was my interpretation of a game put to paper. There's a whole lot that did not go into that. And there's a whole lot that could not go into that because when just me and my boyfriend are gaming, sometimes that does not end up being page friendly.
Right.
If you understand what I'm saying. And I don't write romance.
That's okay.
Or at least I don't write it well. I try to write it and I don't write it well.
The story with the roommate. Oh my gosh. I can see that relationship lasting forever if it wasn't for generally the fact that he's dead.
Right.
Yeah.
That kind of damper on things just a little. Sometimes, I mean, not for everybody though.
Yeah. Some people marry ghosts.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I was trying to add a nice twist to that one, and I thought I did okay with it. So
I enjoyed it. Ooh, we got a comment. Hi, Tom Dog.
Hey.
hello.
So yeah, it's awesome, and I love it, and I love both. And what? Okay, out of all the things you've done, you have you didn't like the regular publishing route because they didn't want to actually give you the time you deserved and what you deserved. What has been your favorite accomplishment so far as a publisher / writer that makes, when you think about it, makes you so proud?
The anthologies.
The anthologies.
Because while my books are awesome, and I do enjoy them, I really do. I enjoy especially, okay, this is, I started off with, especially on my poetry books, with a very traditional looking cover. I tried doing and I had somebody tell me that the only thing they hated about my books was the fact that the cover didn't represent the interior.
Mm-hmm.
The covers were too bland for the soul of the book, which told me that I was holding back my creativity for no reason.
Yes.
So that's when I started this. Mind you, that was back 2015 we didn't start the anthologies until I think, I'm wanting to say, I'd have to look to be sure, but I think 2019 is when Under the Mist was released.
Uh-huh.
And that felt like it was more of a creative project. I was putting more than just my art, more than just my words into a book and making it look good.
Yeah.
I was making it into an actual book.
Right.
And it felt good. It felt like that was what publishing's supposed to be.
Yes.
And it was giving a lot of people their first publication. Because a lot of the people in the anthologies, that's their first publication.
Yep.
And that felt good too, because that gave them a chance to springboard, because some publishers won't even look at you if you haven't been published before.
That's very sadly true.
Whereas if you can state at least one anthology that your work is in, or, you know, this, that, or the other, you have a chance to actually be heard.
Jody
Thank
said,
you.
Happy birthday.
Hey.
So, and then I was getting people who were coming to me and going, I don't think my work is good enough to be in an anthology. And I'm like, well, have you tried sending it?
For me.
Have you tried sending it? Send it to me. And I was finding that these people who were saying they didn't think their work was good enough were writing these amazing stories with such imaginative ideas, and they just didn't have the confidence to submit most of the time.
I know for me, I mean, obviously I had written before, I did an anthology with you, but the difference for me was sometimes as an author, when you're with the company, and there's different kinds of companies out there. You know, I've been in the ones that were way smaller than Fae Corps. I've been in ones that were larger, that were just like author mills, basically. But along the way, you start being made to feel by like different publishers in different situations that you don't matter, that your work's terrible, you don't matter. This is just a paycheck for them, et cetera, et cetera. You know, one promise not being kept after another, and you get to that point where you ask yourself, you know, why am I even doing this? Why am I bothering with it? And then I went the self-publishing route, thinking, oh well. And then I realized I don't have the money to support myself as an author going on my own, and I'd all but given up before I ran into a writing server. I was just going to be content to, well, ran back into, I should say. I was just content to post things on Reddit and give it all away for free and just never do anything else ever again. So for me, it was, you know, giving that confidence as a writer, you know, the confidence, you know, of being a storyteller, because I'd even lost touch with all that. And that was something that, you know, you always talk about. There's a couple of things you always talk about with me as, you know, being a champion for people that can't speak up for themselves, you know, that don't think their writing is good enough, to find that, to help them find that inner magic. And that's something that you do for me constantly. And I just want to say to anyone out there listening, if you feel like I felt at that time, I've never met anyone in the industry better than Patti to help you find that magic inside yourself. And she'll pull it out of you, I promise. She will yank it out whether you want to or not. And it is, it's amazing.
I'm sitting here blushing because I do try. And I have on my computer, and I stated this, and I had somebody mistake it because they're like, well, my book's not that great. I said, no, honey, this is not about that. I have what I call publishing fails. Okay. And what publishing fails are is I have a contract that I have everybody sign. The contract covers my ass, it covers your ass. It's a good thing. And the reason is because if Amazon or Barnes & Noble or any of them ever come to me, I can say, see, I have permission to publish this. That's why I have the contract signed. But it also means that if you don't like what I'm doing, you have the right to go pull my book.
Yep.
And the publishing fails are ones that I tried for whatever reason. Either they said, pull my book, or I said, I can't deal with you. And it's hard for me to get to that point. It really is.
I've seen you take a lot of absolute nonsense from people and still publish them. People that I would have probably, hid their bodies long before.
It was thanks to Jenny and Patty that I finally started putting my writings out there, especially when to struggle with vulnerability.
And Jody, your poetry is beautiful, honestly.
It is.
But I do everything I can to avoid anybody ending up in that that publishing fail thing. There was one author, and I will not mention their name, but there was one author that's in my publishing fail, and he is republishing his book with a different publishing firm, which is his right. It's his book. Okay, I'm not going to argue that. And I reached out to the publishing firm and I asked them if they were going to mention that it had been previously published. Because if I get somebody's book that has been previously published, I always put in there just a line in the copyright page saying, this book was published, yada, yada date by this publishing firm first. Okay. That just acknowledges that I'm not the first person to publish it.
Right.
I consider that proper etiquette, I guess.
Well, it's also a legality thing. Believe it or not, like anytime you do a different printing or a different version of something, especially if it's got its own ISBN and it's registered Library of Congress, et cetera, you have to know the history of that story or novel or what have you. There's a lot going on in the legal process with all that. So like, I don't like it when people don't look like that, don't do that. Like, especially indie publishers, like, well, we want to make it seem like it's brand new, and it's like, okay, but actually you're kind of hurting the author and you're kind of hurting your business because you're supposed to do that, and people that have read the story before are going to get excited to see a new version of it. So
and not only did the publisher get snooty with me and told me that no, they did not have to do that, and it was his copyright and he had all the rights and yada yada yada, but they refused to do it. And my thoughts were, well, if they had been willing to do that, I was going to put out there on Fae Corps blog and whatever that, hey, this is being reprinted, and I was going to push the book for them.
Right.
Because they chose to get snooty with me and catch attitude, I want nothing to do with them. They are a publishing fail, period.
Right.
The reason they are a publishing fail in the first place is because this person would yell at me. I would do everything I could to get their book the way it was supposed to be, and then spend 3 or 4 hours being yelled at because it wasn't what they wanted.
Because that's how you get things done.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. I actually spend more time dealing with people's book than people realize, because I go in, I make sure that the cover is what you want. In order to do a book, I offer 3 covers to start with, just to start the conversation. And then from there, okay, you don't like any of them? Well, what do you like about, any of them? Anything? What are you thinking on your cover? Anything? and then we try and dial it into what you want.
I know that process very well with you, and I've driven us both crazy in that process, I'm sure, more than once.
And then once we get the cover, I do covered reveal images, which I've got a couple on my desk waiting that I was supposed to do, but today's my birthday, and I said I wasn't working today, period.
Yep, nope. You gotta take that day off, man.
I then go through and I do any editing that needs to be done, and I send it to the author. Even if all the editing is just spelling, and you can ask Assured about this one, because I did this with her last one. All that was needed to be edited was spelling, and I sent it to her, and she goes, "Is there even anything in here for me to fix?" I said, "No, but I want you to double check and make sure that I haven't done something you won't like." And so she sends it back to me saying, "You know, this book is fine the way you did it, so fix it." And that's when I go in and I put in the front matter, the title page, the copyright page. I put it into a good format. I put in the rear matter, which is the about the author, the about the publisher. And then I put it into a PDF format, an EPUB format, and I usually keep the original ODT format because just in case I need to adjust it, because I use LibreOffice. It's easy for me and it's free.
Oh, yeah. I like LibreOffice. So when I don't use that, I used to use that all the time until I started going to school and getting Word for free. But I used to bounce back and forth between LibreOffice and Google Docs. And now I think I use Google Docs more than even Word.
I use Google Docs when I'm sending edits because Google Docs makes it easier for me to send the edits.
Yeah, for tracking, yeah.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, it just makes it easier on everybody for me to send edits back and forth. But once I've got the EPUB, I will upload it to, and I do this on the link on purpose. I will upload it to the different places, and I use Draft to Digital for the majority of where we're going to post it, but I also go to Google Books, and I go to Barnes & Noble, and I go to Amazon. I go to those 4 sites, and each one of them has a different setup that has to be done. I could do Amazon through Draft to Digital, but they get extra picky about stupid stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So it's easier just to go to Amazon in person. And I refuse to use Draft to Digital print because when I was using it, I believe Friday there can show you some examples of what happened with that.
Oh yeah, I didn't bring the book, but there would be like large spaces it'd do like a page and a half and then a large space and then another page and a half and a large space, like half a page of blank. It was, I love
they would fuck up the formatting.
Yeah.
And then we got reports of covers being printed half off the book. I mean, it was a mess. So I go directly to Amazon and directly to Barnes & Noble, which is where they actually sell through. Both places, that's where Draft to Digital print sells through. So I just go to the direct place and do it myself.
Yeah. Yep.
And then when I set up on Draft to Digital, they have a partnership through Books to Read.
Yeah.
And I set up the Books to Read link once it's actually live, once it's gone through, and I set it up with the book's name. Because that way, if somebody's going in looking for the book, all they have to do is search Books to Read and then the title. There's been a couple of times I haven't been able to do that, but whenever possible, I set it up with the book's name.
Very cool.
That way it makes it easy to find.
It really is, and
And I
find it
appreciate that.
everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. And then for the authors who have more than one book with me, like you, and hopefully soon you.
Yes.
It is soon. He has been helping me write it. I'm gonna send in one of the stories for the menagerie, but it's one of the stories in the book. I'm getting help with the book. I am moving. It's just taking me a little bit to get to this point.
But whenever I've got more than one book that a person's in, I set up a reading list for them on books2read.com. So each of the authors who have multiple books, like Ashira, Serena, Raz, myself, all have their own reading list. And all of their books are listed, and if they're in any of the anthologies, I always put that as one of the what do you call it? They have carousels. I always put that as one of the carousels, our anthologies. And that way, if you're wanting, say, nothing but Raz, you can go and find nothing but Raz, which helps because that makes it easier for the author to go, here's all my books. I try and make it easier on the authors because that means they're going to have an easier time promoting their own books.
It helps a lot.
And it does not take me more than a couple of minutes to add a book to one of the reading lists. It does not take me more than a couple of minutes to go through each of the sites I need to for a book. Once I get the manuscript completed, that is the worst of it. That is what takes me the longest on any of it.
Yeah.
As long as I get authors that don't send me manuscripts that lock my computer up. One of my publishing fails sent me a manuscript that was locking my computer up, and when I told him it was, he told me to publish it anyway. And I said, but that's going to look awful, and I don't like doing that. Publish it anyway. You know what? Fine. I published it anyway. He ordered the book and found out that it looked awful and then pulled his books from all of his books from what I was doing. And I have not been more grateful for anything because I did not want to fight with that book.
I did not realize that author was giving you that much problem because I like the stories. They're cute. Well, but for the kids, but otherwise, I did not realize that.
Yeah, and the kids book, I did not realize it until he told me to pull the books. The cover that he sent me to make into a cover, the image he sent me, I didn't look at it real close. It has a freaking watermark on it.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. I thought it was his image, so I didn't think anything of it.
Gotcha.
Because
at least you can see when I send you mine, you know where I got the pictures from, and you know I paid the money for the two I'm sending you.
But no, this guy sent me one with a watermark. So there was that. So if I say that something's a publishing fail, it was something where I tried and I just could not get it to work. And believe me, if I say it's a publishing fail, I really did try.
Oh, yeah.
Now I've got one that was never published, listed as never published. The author got as far as cover design and he decided he didn't like what I was offering and pulled his stuff right then and there.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Okay. That was his right, you know?
Oh, yeah. My journey to you is kind of odd and convoluted. It started at a anime con, and then I met Theodore Naratak Tinker of Balance of Seven, and I met Kelly Lynn Colby of what is now Cursed Dragonship. She was originally with Inklings when I met her, and then with one of their anthology authors, KT Cito. I really liked her story, so I just followed her to the different places she went, and I was reading her stuff. And then met you guys. It was Faye Shivers, the duet that of anthologies that you guys were publishing. And then I started paying attention, and you guys let me come in from where I was, and was willing to help me get better. And I found out this is an easier place to have a home, because with the others, they have their own standards, and their standards are great, and they do amazing stuff. But I
Yes,
am
they do.
not up to that standard. But you are fine with the place where I am, and I have been grateful for that.
Oh yeah.
I have to admit, part of the reason that Under the Mists came to be, okay, Balance of Seven, when they first started, they did an anthology. I love all the people in Balance of Seven. They do have an amazing standard. Okay, they really do. But when they first started, they felt like a high school clique. They were a group of friends, okay? And there's nothing wrong with that. There really isn't. Don't take me wrong here, okay? But they were a group of close friends, and though a few of us had submitted to the Dragons Within, we had been rejected.
Mhm.
And we all were feeling a little sore on that. So we decided we were going to do our own anthology. Okay. And we started putting it together, and well, Cindy and I were talking, and she was my partner when this started. Okay.
Mhm.
She and I were talking, and well, you got to have a company to publish under, don't you? That makes sense.
Yeah. Seems logical.
So, okay, well, we need a company name. We're publishing fairy stories, so how about Fae Corps? You know, a group of fairy, like a, and yeah, that was my suggestion. She liked it, so she had the original logo design. That was her. But I put together all the stuff for Under the Mist. You know, she helped me do the editing on it, and I did the formatting and whatnot, and did the publishing. And for a while there was no interaction with any of the other small presses because it felt like we were in competition in some way. It wasn't, we weren't, but it felt like it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes any sense at all, but
Yes.
and then I woke up one day and realized I didn't like that.
Yeah.
Me and Cindy had separated due to an argument. Fae Corps was mine. You know, she had stepped away. We're still friends. She still helps out, but she had decided that she was going to step away from Fae Corps because I was doing the work anyway. You know, she didn't know what to do with it.
Right.
she wanted to write, she wanted to edit, but she really didn't want to do the behind the scenes stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of like the behind the scenes stuff most of the time.
Honestly, that's exactly how I founded my first film company. We were all tired of working for other people. There was a lot of drama in this scene. We all came together like, hey, what can we do? And I realized, oh shit, I can't just act anymore. I got to actually write my first script. Oh shit, I'm going to have to figure out how to do this, how to help with that. And then now I edit shit. You know, I do more behind the scenes than I do anything else. And even coming back to film, I have to figure out now how I'm going to direct and act and do 20,000 other things. But I find that as much as I enjoy the, being on the, like in front of the camera, I'm almost to the point now where I enjoy being behind everything and in the background more than being in the foreground.
Well, and I was in theater in high school, but I couldn't do the stage stuff because I couldn't stay after school.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I did? I did the publicity. I did the set building. I did the behind the scenes stuff.
Yep.
And I was in the literary magazine in my school. Right. Again, I couldn't stay after school, but I could do anything that I could do in school. So some of the stuff is stuff that I've just been doing most of my life. I mean, it's like my dad and I were talking about it. I wanted to do this so badly as a teenager that I looked into and learned how to make a book. I can literally do it from scratch. I know how to bind a book.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought that was fun. And he goes, I wish I had known that because my friend Jeff used to work on these presses. And I'm like, why couldn't you have taken me? I want to see these things. So, but this was just something I've always wanted to do. And when I started looking into publishing my own stuff, I would send stuff out and I would either get told that I had to have experience in publishing before people would look at my stuff even.
Right.
Or I had to buy their book in order for them to publish me. Which is a scam. That is such a scam.
Yep.
And none of them were even looking at what I was sending. You could tell by the way they were responding.
Yep.
And it just, yeah. And then 2010, I found out about Amazon. Oh, I can do it myself? I can be in control of every step along the way? Okay. That sounds fun.
I love the control you give us. I love the fact that there's a rapport. I love the fact that there's a, hey, yeah, you want to do that? Go right ahead.
That's the way it should be.
Yep.
It's your book. Why do I need all the control? The only thing that I need control over is anything that's going to make the book look bad.
Right.
Like, okay, for example, and I'm going to use this because this one is a big thing. Ruan, I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. Ruan Bradford Wright. Torag.
Okay, yeah.
The name she originally gave that book was Ego Glossio or something like that. It was like a mouthful. And I said, well, I love the name you gave it. It's an interesting name. Can we please put a name on it that is actually pronounceable so that it might sell?
Right.
And I think I did the same for Ron He's been on here a couple of times. His book, Inside My Nightmares.
Yep. Many times. We love Ron.
His book originally was A Glimpse Inside My Nightmares. It was a really long title. And I said, hey, I love the title, but could we shorten it? If he had said no, I would have put the whole title on there. But then when I suggested shortening it, he was all for that. He liked it. I've got another author I'm working on. His book's coming out in July. Jarrett Brown. He was just recommended to me. And his books were all named the same. He's got 4 books he's planning on publishing with me. They were all named the same, only Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, Volume 4. I said, while that's nice, Amazon and Barnes and Noble have naming rules, and that's going to trigger them.
Yeah.
Can we please add something to differentiate the books other than Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, Volume 4? Because that will cause an issue.
Yeah.
He gave them each a unique title. They're still the Lightning War, but now it's the Lightning War Grounding Unit, which is Volume 1. The Lightning War something or other, which is Volume 2. I remember what Volume 4's title is, but I don't remember Volume 2 and 3. Volume 4 is The Defector's Revenge. And he plans on publishing all 4 with us, so that's going to be really nice. And they're really good books. They're sci-fi, barely adult level sci-fi.
Uh-huh.
In other words, they'd be good for teenagers as far as reading. Yeah. There's not, I read through, I didn't see anything. Of course, he's doing a rewrite, so I'll have to read through again. But I didn't see anything in the first read through that was going to be problematic for young adults.
Yes.
That may change after the rewrite. It might not. It's got some very anti-war sentiment, some very good character development, and some very science fiction-y, metahuman type stuff in it. Okay. It's really cool. And I like books like that, you know, the ones that have good story elements to them. And this is his first publication, so he's nervous about it. But he did really well. And he says he's got all 4 written, but he wants to go through and do a rewrite before I do any editing. So I'm not going to argue with him and tell him, no, don't do this, because the book needs to be, it's his story. The book needs to be something he's happy with before he publishes it.
Oh, definitely.
It's like, if I sit there and tell you, well, you can't write this, then at that point, it's not your story. That changes your voice. I'm not in this to change anybody's voice. I'm in this to make sure you have a voice.
And I appreciate that.
Definitely.
I think that is one of the greatest things about the tagline, giving indie authors I know it. I put it in at least once a month and I copy and paste it. But basically, you give indie authors a voice that let them use their magic.
Helping indie authors find their inner magic.
Yes, helping indie authors find their inner magic.
I have it memorized. And I haven't at all seen it 2,000 times in the last 24 hours.
Dude, there's one day a month where I'm looking at it for a good anywhere from an hour to 3 hours during the day, staring at it. I'm like, how can I make this better? What color is it? I don't know what color I want this one to be. Let's go with green.
Blue. Oh, I mean yellow. No.
Honestly, I don't know that I could do this without what you do, because you keep the social medias running, you keep the newsletter running. All I do is I publish the books. I deal with the authors. You keep everything else running.
It's the same over here too, because me and Del make things and we give them to Jenny, and Jenny does everything and knows just how to put it, where to put it, and it's just, I don't think we'd survive without her either. I know I wouldn't personally.
Well, and then
until the 20th, I'm taking a break on all of it because I really want to get the story done and get it sent to you.
Yes.
I've been informed I don't have a choice, and I'm like, but I also want to actually write the story. I want to see if I can make it as scary as I want it to be, as scary as it felt for her and for me in those instances.
Yeah. I started up this new thing lately where we only have there's only 3 of us doing it right now, but each session we meet, one author gets the focus to ask all the questions and get all the help they need. Jenny sent us a copy of what she was working on, and me and Amina sat down with her for at least 2 or 3 hours worth of us just sitting down there answering questions that she had, going through the project, and that's something we want to do where each author gets that chance to be the spotlight for the whole conversation. No squirreling, no bullshit. I mean, there's always going to be some squirreling and bullshit because it's all of us, but it's something I really want to start doing more of.
I love that.
I needed it.
I love that. I signed up for a writing, and it was actually a half decent writing group. I signed up for it. I paid the costs and all that. And that writing group did that, where they would take each person and they would focus, and but the problem is they did it in a bad way.
No.
And it was called a hot seat. And when it came time for my hot seat, all she did was make my imposter syndrome worse.
Yeah, there's ways to do it and ways not to do it. And going to school to become a teacher right now, I know all the really good ways and all the ways you should never do it. So I've been kind of probably a little irritating in that first one we did with Jenny, because I was like, well, I'm gonna present it to you like this because this is how I learn, and this is helping me, be a better teacher by going through things this way.
Well, the person running it took the piece I had written and was like, oh my God, everybody, all of her dialogue was in one paragraph. And I'm sitting there going, oh, yeah, maybe I shouldn't be writing now.
That's bullshit.
Dude, I gave him 6 pages of pieces of the story because I'm like, I need to figure out how to get further, but I don't know how to look at this differently. And I also really want you to explain how this part works, so when I write this part, I know you've done it before, so I can make it seem valid. And
I need somebody to do that with one of my stories. Maybe they can help me figure it out.
Anytime.
Okay. We can set you up a date.
Man.
Because I've been writing the damn thing since high school, and I know how it ends, but I cannot get there.
Okay. We will set up a date with you.
Yep.
And of course, I don't have the ending actually written out because I can't do that. I just can't. It's not in me.
Oh, I've already written the ending. Everybody already knows about it. It's just okay. Yeah. But okay, 3 more questions and then we really do need to leave. What is your favorite coffee? Or are you a coffee or tea person? And then what is your favorite one to drink? Like flavors.
Okay,
yeah,
I am both, actually. I love coffee and I love tea.
So which is your favorite flavor of both?
Tea has to be chai latte. I am a big chai fan. It doesn't matter what flavor of chai. I love chai. But coffee, it depends on the day.
Mhm.
Like today, I had butter pecan coffee, and that was amazing.
Ooh,
Yes,
I
it
love
is.
butter
I agree
pecan.
wholeheartedly.
I didn't know they made a coffee.
Oh yeah.
My usual go-to for flavored coffee is either hazelnut or blueberry crumble.
Ooh.
Those are my favorite in general. But
You have to try the blueberry crumble. Can you?
I've
I
only
need a
ever
picture
had
later.
coffee flavored coffee.
the usual though, I have refillable pods. We use the refillables. And we get a 2-pound bag every month, and Joe's got a burr grinder. We get a 2-pound bag every month of Tim Horton beans off of Amazon, and that's what I use.
Oh, we get ours from Walmart.
I like hot chocolate.
Well, and I've got backups for my backup where that's concerned, because I'm not going to run out of coffee. I've got Folgers Black over there if I run out of the Tim Hortons.
Black Silk is nummy.
Yes, and if I run out of that, I've got Taster's Choice regular, and I've got Taster's Choice hazelnut. So I am not running out of coffee.
We secretly replaced her Folgers crystals with crystal meth. Let's see if she notices.
Oh, I noticed. Trust me.
Okay.
Fun fact. Caffeine does not affect me like it does most people. It has the opposite effect on me. The only time I actually sleep is when I have enough caffeine in my system.
I drank, the death coffee, the one with like the biggest amount of caffeine that they have. I drank 4 cups of that because I could not go to sleep because my kid just had I could not deal with what I just found out when I found out about her heart problems. I drank 4 cups and still fell asleep. I couldn't sleep until I did the 4 cups. But yeah.
Yes. I actually have a small bag of that over there too, but we've mostly gone through that. So
that I understand. The next one is, can zombies climb?
It depends on the setting. In my world, no.
Okay.
The only zombie that can in my world is Chris, and that is because he is a special zombie and not technically rotting, for lack of a better way to put it. Okay. He is a zombie. He is a zombie, but he is not a zombie in the typical way of zombies.
Okay.
Nice.
Third question. Where can we find you? And if a fan wanted to message you, where would be a good place to leave a comment or leave a message?
Okay. I have a long list of socials. I'm on every social. It's always
in the matter where links go. People.
Yeah. I am always Patty Mouse, except for on Twitch, because Twitch is the rare weird one. Yeah. and I felt bad about that because I did not warn anybody on that one. But Twitch, I'm Deidre's Fire Killer because that's my gaming name. But everywhere else, I'm Patty Mouse. Or if you're trying to get a hold of Serena, I'm Serenity's Fall, because that's just the name I took for her.
And that cracks me up because I did a collective that was published called Serenity Falls before we reconnected.
As to where you're more likely to get me, messaging me on Facebook is probably the easiest, because I'm more likely to be on Facebook than I am anywhere else, admittedly. The tablet that I'm on right now has Instagram, and I've been starting to check it again, but I tend to forget that it exists for periods of time. I have Pinterest. Yeah, I have Pinterest, and I forget it exists for periods of time, unless I need to know how something is drawn, and then I'll go look it up on Pinterest to get an idea to try and draw it myself.
I do have one question. When you look on your Facebook and you see a random post about Fae Corps or a writing meme, did it ever confuse you, or you're like, oh yeah, Jenny's just posting again?
I figured it was just you posting. And the fun ones that do confuse me is, and I figured out how it was happening, but I would get a writing meme posted to my personal page, and I was trying to figure out how that was happening. My personal page is actually also linked to the Fae Corps Instagram.
Yeah, I noticed that, but I didn't know if you noticed that.
It took me a couple of weeks to figure out what was going on with that. I was like, how am I posting that? And then I go to Instagram and I'm like, oh.
He posted it.
Yeah. I always just tell people they can find me by just finding Jenny, or Jenny pretending to be me. She wears a very convincing Raz costume.
Well, and
oh yeah.
I mean,
oh no, hold on.
As soon as you step, we kind of see a little bit.
I'll
Beetlejuice!
Hell yeah. That'd say summon me these days.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I'm not hard to find. I have my blog, and as of May, I'm actually planning on paying for my blog, buying the domain so that I can actually get the media storage. Because my blog is saying I don't have enough media storage. It's whining.
Talk to me before you do that. I got you.
Okay. Well, WordPress is talking about 50, so that's why I was thinking.
Yep. Nope. Just talk to me first. I got you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I paid for Fae Corps because I needed the domain. I needed it to be faecorps.org or faecorpspublishing.org. So I paid for that for the year. And I've been dragging my feet not wanting to pay for my personal because
I pay between $10 and $15 a year ever, never anything more.
Okay, that's awesome.
It includes blogs and everything you could ever possibly want and need.
Awesome. Yeah, I definitely need to talk to you about that.
I got you.
That is on our list. Okay. Where do you want people to find you, Raz? Where they can go talk to me?
Yeah, they can just talk to you. Oh, well, coming up on March 22nd, you're going to be able to find me for 3 solid days, along with Matt, Pyle at some point in time, the guys from Rough House Publishing, Wicked Effects. All of us are going to be in one place at the same time, and that's the Horror Hound Weekend Horror Convention in Sharonville, Ohio. We're super excited about this. We're already hearing back from some guests finally this week. Yes, Horror Hound. Hearing back from some guests. We got all kinds of cool things lined up. Some segments we're going to do. Just a lot of absolute fun, man. And this Saturday, if you happen to be in the area, you might catch me walking around Trader's World, which is one of the biggest flea markets in Ohio. So I'm going to be wandering. Me and Pyle might be going on another Pyle and Raz adventure. So there could be another video about some random shit that we do, because that's just how we are.
That is awesome.
Although I do want to maybe point this out. I'm not sure yet, but around the first weekend in May, I may be in Milton at the flea market there. We're not sure yet whether it's going to be the first weekend or the second weekend. I am going to Milton, and I'm going to be setting up my arts and crafts. My daughter's going to be doing a flea market yard sale type thing, and we're going to try and share a booth. But
I will be close to you, actually, a lot closer to you in May, on May 4th, actually. It's still in Ohio, but it's pretty close to the Ohio West Virginia border. It's a big convention called Final Boss Con, and I'll actually be there with like a booth, like selling books and shit.
Cool.
That is awesome.
Maybe we'll get to see each other again. We've only got to do that once so far.
I know. It must happen again.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
we are hitting our hour-and-a-half mark. So if
Yeah.
you do want to actually find me, and Owlite, Fae Corps, Friday with the Library in the Blue Box, or Jennifer Elliott, those pages, just message on most platforms, and she will either pretend to be me, or I will pretend to be me, or I will pretend to be him. Stuff will happen. So you guys have an
Hive
amazing.
mind.
Yes, we love being each other.
That's part of the fun.
Good night. Thank you
See
for
y'all later.
coming.
Bye.